Well, friends of Mundo Maldini, I'm going to make this video, which is purely my opinion. I'm going to share my thoughts on the topic that's being talked about a lot, VAR, based on the play between Tchouaméni and Samulino. But regarding VAR, and I'm not going to make a very long video, but I also want your opinion in the comments. What was VAR brought in for? VAR was brought in for this. VAR was brought in to correct monumental, blatant errors. This is Maradona's hand against England in '86. One of the most famous goals in football history, and surely one of the most important in football history. He scored with his hand. I'll say it again. One of the most important and famous goals in football history was scored with his hand. This can't happen. Nowadays, such blatant errors can't happen. I'm one of those who thinks that the advancement of technology has to help with these kinds of things. Thierry Henry got France into a World Cup with a hand goal against Ireland. For example, this photo you're seeing is from the '66 World Cup final, the famous phantom goal by Joffers. World Cup final, it was 3-2 in extra time, deciding the final of a World Cup, the most important match that can be played every 4 years, and we'll never know if it went in or not. 1966. Fortunately, technology has advanced enough so that these things no longer happen or can happen. There are 1,000 cases, but I've highlighted these 3 outrageous ones. That's why I believe that VAR is a magnificent tool that comes to fill the gap of technology that football fans have seen for so many years. I believe that technology should help and not make things worse. But they are making things worse, and now I'm going to explain why. Because I think common sense is lacking. I once talked with Victor Santamaria. I'm going to give several examples so you can think about where I'm going. Victor Santamaria. He is for me the best director I have seen in my life, who spent many years making the productions of Movistar Plus, of Canal Plus at that time. And I told him, Victor, every day we are adding more cameras and more cameras and more cameras. And now we are adding a mini camera. And now we are adding one with a rail. And now we are going to add another camera that will allow us to see the players up close. And now a super slow motion camera. I don't know what that's like. You're really good at this, but in the hands of someone who isn't as good, it could be harmful because it might prevent us from seeing the match. With 18 different cameras and mixing them, we might be losing the essence of what the match really is. I want to watch the game on TV. I want to watch the game. Don't give me 17,000 replays because I'm missing the game, or 17,000 shots. Well, something like that is happening with VAR because common sense is lacking. VAR is a magnificent tool if it's used properly. And for cases that are very clear and very specific, because common sense is lacking. I gave an example yesterday at Movistar Plus. I'm going to repeat it here, and I'm going to give you another one. I gave the example that in everything in life, we need to apply common sense. Also in football, which is part of life, or at least part of ours, there are people who don't like it, but it's obviously part of our lives. If you have a boss and that boss tells you, don't transfer any calls to me, and then he locks himself in his office, he's told you, don't transfer any calls to me. Correct. But then suddenly you get a call saying that their family had a car accident and that they're in the hospital in very serious condition, you would transfer the call, right? Anything can be changed by common sense. Let me give you another example. You run into a close friend, your best friend. Think about your best friend. And I say, hey, how are you? With a friend. Your best friend, think about your best friend. And I say, hey, how are you? Felipe, how are you? Very well. How's life treating you? And he replies, well, I just won the lottery, man, 20 million. And I say, damn, man, what luck. You're such a lucky guy, dude. But you're such a lucky guy, dude. I don't want to say the whole words, but you get me. Let's celebrate it. I just called him a son of a bit. If you have a confrontation with someone on the street that you don't know at all because you bumped your car into them, and the guy comes out and says, you're such a son of a bika, he's calling you the same thing. Or I tell him, I'm calling him the same thing, but he would interpret it differently. We agree, right? Well, this is the same thing. This is the same thing, interpretation. Now, let's move on to interpretation. What I'm saying about son of a, it's exactly like this. Any stomp in the box is a penalty. It's the same. Son of a means any stomp in the box is a penalty. Well, we'll have to interpret it. Any stomp in the box is a penalty. Well, we'll have to interpret it. There will be stomps and stomps. Yesterday, Diego Latorre said this, which is one of the best comments I've ever heard in my life. And he posted this tweet, and I think it's key. Ha, 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 look at the penalty they call. Technological criteria, not football criteria. Latorre hits the nail on the head. Technological criteria, not football criteria. It doesn't apply in common sense. It doesn't apply in the football sense of things. What happened with Chouameni is a penalty. If you look at the rules, it's a penalty. What I said yesterday, yes, that's what I'm saying. Son of a... Any stomp is a penalty. There's nothing more to discuss. Well, yes, we have to discuss it. Yes, we have to discuss it. Of course, we have to discuss it. The ball had gone behind the line. He couldn't play it anymore. Chouameni makes a mistake and ends up stepping on it. Yeah, he ends up stepping on it, but the ball is no longer in dispute between the two. It's not intentional. The fact that it's not intentional doesn't exempt him, as I said yesterday, from whether it's a penalty or not. But these are things that come together, that add up. The common sense of football, in my opinion, many of you might not agree, but this is not a penalty. You can't call a penalty for this. And I don't care. I think you know me. Many of you won't believe me, but I'm telling you, I really don't care who wins, who loses, or who draws. I really don't care about the jersey. I know I'm fully aware that the most passionate Madrid fans, whom I respect, just like fans of all teams, because I understand that football, in the end, it's a source of passion. And I understand that Madrid fans are outraged by this penalty. But I can guarantee you that many would think exactly the opposite if it were in the other area. Well, sure, starting with the main protagonists. That's how it is. And that's part of football. That's why referees need to apply common sense. And I'm reading today some referees. It's my opinion. You don't have to agree, of course. I'm reading some referees who say that yes, it's a stomp and that it's a penalty. That it's a stomp and that it's a penalty. It's the worst message you can send. Because everything that doesn't apply, common sense, I think, will be harmful to football. What's happening? Well, in the end, VAR is making us watch football under a microscope. We're watching football under a microscope. And if you want to find a flaw in a person, you're going to find it. No one is perfect. If you start looking for I think you understand what I'm trying to say. If you start looking for flaws, you're always going to find them. In any aspect of life, you're always going to find flaws in anything you can imagine. Watching football under a microscope, I think, is a mistake. I believe VAR should be used for very clear and blatant plays, and above all, applying common sense. So this is what I think, and I want your opinion. That's it. A hug. Bye.